a sort of, I guess, the big clip of the week last week that everyone was gabbing about.
Hooting and hollering.
And involved Meghan McCain on The View. I mean, she's a host of The View, sort of getting into it with Joy Behar about socialism.
It's the word everyone's talking about.
It's the word everyone's talking about. And Meghan basically, I forget who said this, but she was putting socialism on notice and was like, socialism, let me speak to your manager because, we got a problem.
She left a scathing Yelp review.
And
socialism's
I asked her this question about what do you mean by being a democratic socialist? And she went over her platform. She says Medicare for all.
Good.
Fully funded public schools and universities.
Love it.
Paid family and sick leave.
Good.
Justice system reform, immigration justice, infrastructural overhaul, clean campaign finance, an economy of peace, housing as a human right.
Well,
I don't know.
It's a really successful country.
Can I please push back on
wrong with that?
This makes my head explode. Which problem with socialism, in the words of Margaret Thatcher, at a certain point you run out of spending other people's money. Venezuela, one of the richest countries in the world in the 70s. Now, the average Venezuelan has lost 24 pounds because they're starving to death. 90% of the country is living in poverty.
I think she's talking more about Scandinavia than Venezuela.
I'm sorry. This is what I need from her. Name one country that socialism has ever worked. And also, every democratic socialist who is going on TV saying that it's good needs to start paying 90% in taxes.
Iceland.
On your tax form. No, on your tax form, I think you should start paying the amount of taxes that every socialist in this country thinks you need to. Because if you think the government is so good at spending money, look at the VA. Because it is dangerous.
I just told you several countries that do it. But besides, hold on a minute.
Hold on, everybody. God bless you all.
So Meghan was basically said, people characterized it as sort of a meltdown. I think that's being unfair to Meghan, but she was passionate. She was expressing, she was had some volume in her voice, but she was passionately saying, I'm terrified that socialism is being normalized in America. This is not normal.
Yeah.
Socialism is bad. And, Joy Behar was pushing back. And from the clip, it definitely seemed like the View audience was very down with socialism. And I think this is part and parcel of the phenomenon we're seeing now where the right-wing media, for instance, if they're describing what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believes in, will give a more accurate summation. Yeah. They'll just say, hey, she wants free health care and government guaranteed jobs and education, and she's going to pay for it by taxing you. It's like, well, yeah, definitely. But they know that for the Fox News audience, that's they can take that as read as something evil and frightening. The View audience, it's a little bit more up for grabs. And now there's this idea that if right-wing people, if Meghan McCain starts ranting about socialism, maybe people in the View audience might be like, hey, that sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, the thing is that the Republicans, their message machine obviously has been very honed over the years. They have all these mechanisms for getting their ideas out there and shaping all of the discourse around every given issue. But they're all flabby now because they've been competing against liberals this whole time, and it's like beating up fourth graders. It's like when Kramer was in the the karate class with those kids. I mean, just wrecks their shit because what do they have? They have Hillary voice and fucking earned tax credits and shit. Incremental gibberish and opportunity bucks and all that crap. They don't have a thing that anyone could all they have really is sort of a cultural attitude and gestures towards for very, very vague ideas that can easily be turned by Republicans into anything they want them to be. Now with socialism, I mean, I do think there's a danger of sort of rhetorical drift and socialism sort of being turned into basically just ultra liberalism or something. But on the policy proposal front, things like Medicare for all are, that's a fucking policy. That's an actual thing that you can propose to somebody that they can understand pretty quickly what it means, and which has an intuitive appeal to people. And Republicans are absolutely out of practice on trying to confront an issue on its own merits like that. And so all they can do is things like when Hannity's like, she wants to do this, she wants free health care. And it's like, for people who aren't already on board with their psychotic, mean-spirited worldview where the economy and the government exist to punish bad people who aren't like me, and actually suffer and would like to see a world that's a little more generous towards its fellow citizens, that they have no real response to it, and they end up just amplifying the message.
Well, I think what's going on here is like people who are very invested in the liberal consensus in media or the think tank world. Like I saw Josh Marshall and Matt Yglesias saying some version of this line where like, a lot of, what all of the young people are calling socialism now is really just the New Deal of it. It's just liberalism of an earlier era. It's sort of more muscular liberalism, but it's not really socialism, which I guess in a way is kind of true. Like Medicare for all on itself is not socialism.
But that's still good because that serves as an entry drug towards a broader critique of capitalism and a real demand of abolishing the wage system.
And also, it raises the question, well, why was this regular liberalism 60 years ago, and now it's radical? What has happened since then? And the reality is that the class balance has shifted so far in favor of the wealthy and ownership that any kind of leverage and ability to make demands from regular people has dried up, and so they've been fucking dictating terms basically unopposed since the fall of the Soviet Union.
I also view this as kind of a project to reconstruct in people's minds the idea of a commons, the idea of a common good, which has been drilled out of us for decades. The idea of all government intervention is considered haram in this country. And if you ignore that framing and just go right to the heart of the matter, we should be operating as a society and economy around not a profit motive, but around fulfilling human needs. That's kind of a short circuit, and that, as you point out, the Fox News crowd can't really deal with.
Right, because people actually are suffering. People hate their fucking insurance companies. People, if they have them, people hate their student loan debt. They hate their jobs. They hate all these things in their lives that they're told they have control of their lives. They're told that all of these wonderful consumer options make up freedom, but their actual horizons of their lives have been brutally constrained. And this idea of, hey, maybe we actually take charge of this thing. Maybe we direct the economy towards people's needs instead of towards just the massive accumulation of money upward would be good. And yeah, you have two things that are making it harder for right wing to deal with it. One is that they don't have a framework for critiquing these things because they're so used to beating up on a stale and contentless liberalism. But a lot of the people getting mad are people like Meghan McCain, who is a fucking talentless dipshit fail daughter of millionaire senator and his fucking beer baron wife, who's just mad that her fucking unearned inheritance might get taxed.
Well, yeah, I mean, John McCain's life is filled with like sacrifices, but sacrifices for absolute bullshit. He rots in a Vietnamese prison, but in a war he volunteered for in the most unjustifiable sort of position you can be as a combat officer in that war, a pilot. He rots away so he can have a political career where he goes on to get the UFC banned, be a member of the Keating Five, help push the Iraq war forward. And now that his brain is rotting and everyone is primed to rehabilitate absolute pieces of shit like him, he does it so we have to endure his shitty daughter for the rest of our lives. What does she bring? What does she bring to anything? What is her ability? What insight has Meghan McCain ever had? Has she said anything funny? Has she even ever said anything that's so inflammatory it's at least kind of interesting? She's not even Sarah Palin. She's just a wholly useless... It's like a bag filled with flour is her personality. But the flour is just... It's somehow entitled and shitty.
The entitlement is breathtaking. Obviously, I deserve this inheritance from my parents that I did nothing to earn, but I also honestly deserve a media career to give people my brilliant fucking insights, which is Republicans should be okay with gay people.
I have, you remember how I shocked the world when I said I like the Clinton staffers more than the Obama staffers?
Spit some knowledge.
The McCains are worse than the Clintons.
Oh, whoa.
Ooh.
They're a worse family. Okay, I'm just going to put it in far of like their shitty kids we have to see forever. Chelsea, like, look at Chelsea's presence in the world. Chelsea's presence is like writing a children's book that's like resistance kids or some dumb bullshit and like making fail pancakes. Like making
zucchini pancakes.
Yeah, making fail meals as like a millionaire 40-year-old. And then like on Twitter, someone will be like, like MAGA Pete will be like, "You're going to prison, you pedophile bitch," and she'll be like, "Actually, a bitch is a female dog, and dogs are very useful, and so you've complimented me." And it's just a million weeping guys will be like, "You rock, man, or, Chelsea, ah!" Just reply guy's doing the soy face to her, and it's like, whatever, I can accept that. But Meghan McCain is just, her entire last year has been, apologize to my family. How dare you say that about my dad? How dare you? How dare you look at me? You can tell that her formative years were spent getting servants fired and punished.
Oh, absolutely.
I fucking hate them so much. The Clintons, again, there's like this level of comedy to them. They're like very Ian Nuccian. With the McCains, they're just so fucking entitled. You have to love us. You have to realize the sacrifice we committed for you, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, also, she's now married to Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist. We all know who we think about that. But also, people forget a guy who like literally insulted her looks and intelligence on Twitter like a year before they met.
Yeah.
Pretty good. But
I guess Meghan really works.
Who says conservatives can't grow beards? What? Who said that?
Wait. Before we go on, I found this article. Meghan McCain was talking about how she got married on The View, and she said it was because of Donald Trump. She says
she wanted a marriage like Melania has. She says she was jealous.
I have this theory because I got together with my husband very quickly, which I never do. We moved in very quickly. I have this theory that Trump's America makes everything more intense and heightened because we're always talking about the threat of nuclear war and we want to be nurtured by each other. For real, I would not have gone together with my husband if Trump didn't become the nominee and weren't running for president, 100%. At the convention, when he accepted the nomination, I cried and cried to him in an SUV back to our hotel room, and he got me P.F. Chang's, and I thought, maybe I can marry this guy. He fed her like a wild animal and earned her trust.
That's so dark.
You know what that reminds me?
That's so dark. All these people are... all these people... I was talking about this with like American rich people versus European ones. European ones who are just like, "Oh, terrific. I've secured the campgrounds for my pedophilia ceremony." And American ones are like, "All right, Mom and Dad, we got our P.F. Chang's." They have billions of dollars in of just plunder from a global empire, and this is what they do with it.
Well, that reminds me, P.F. Chang's reminds me of another fail son of wealth, Mark Davis, the son of Al Davis, and the current owner,
the bull cut,
the bull cut pimp owner of the now
Raiders.
I guess Las Vegas Raiders, who famously would every morning go and have lunch at his quote unquote office, which was a P.F. Chang's, where he would have iced teas at the bar and read the newspaper, and then he would ride around in his 1980s panel van that had a VHS tape recorder in it. And he also flies to a specific place in California to get that bull haircut.
Wow.
Yeah, these are the children. This is what they're doing with the money. This is what they're doing with the money.
You're
How can you not win this fucking policy argument?
European.
They want you to literally die in a fucking ditch so that these fucking dipshits like him and Wyatt Koch and Meghan McCain can just make the world their little fun playground.
At least European billionaires, like their kids have a chance of like summoning Satan or doing something cool. These people are just absolute fucking. They're like, it's like they're all demonious X.
2 points. One to yours about this is what they're doing with the money. I thought Randy had the best comment on this, where he was like, "I know some of you may think socialism is like pretty good and cool, but were you aware it may cause Meghan McCain to have slightly less money?"
I mean, no, thank you.
To Meghan's comment about why she got married to Ben Domino, because in the Trump era everything is so crazy and intense. We need to like just hew to love, and that is almost a exact replica of what John Podhoretz gave as the reason for why he decided to finally marry and have children with his long-term girlfriend. Can you guess the reason?
Reagan got elected?
9/11.
By the way, John
It was 9/11 because he realized he had to get serious because the world was serious now.
Boy.
Dude, what we need is more love and compassion, like marrying the guy who's the editor of the website with articles like revisiting the DNA intelligence debate.
Every article on
the rule of thumb, better than you remember.
I mean, the Federalist is the best one of those publications.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, hands down.
Because NRO is just like,
they're too soggy.
Yeah, it's just like the case for chess. Just dull. And Breitbart is just like, all right, we get it, you're racist. But Federalist is just like just always, y'all mind if I wild out.
It's just sexually repressed fever dreams. My favorite part about it, though, is that like all these fucking magazines, it's absolutely opaque in its funding, dark money. It's like, money that the Koch brothers got from, like assassinating indigenous activists in like Nigeria, the Niger Delta or something, is going to pay for articles about how Miss Piggy should be stoned to death for being a harlot.
Well, yeah,
I imagine the Federalist is kind of what the Beak is like.
Yes.
Well, Felix, I want to go back to one thing you said that, what has Meghan McCain ever said that was funny or interesting or useful? Well, I think we'd like to dive into that now. We have prepared another reading series from another political tome that we'd like to share with you.
This book makes me sad because Stella was really good.
Matt, describe this book.
You might think, what does she have to add? She has one thing to add. She has written a book.
Much like us.
Yes.
Fellow author,
fellow co-author, as a collaborator. In 2012, she and Stella and the State's Michael Ian Black co-wrote a book called America, You Sexy Bitch, a love letter to freedom.
Can you say that? Oh, man.
Hold on a second. America, You Sexy Bitch, pretty provocative title, which I am now adding to my dossier of Michael Ian Black, Pizzagate pedophile. He is currently being...
He is
currently being in the Cernovich dragnet. And what's really funny about that is some of the tweets that he's being dragged, like unlike the James Gunn stuff or like, what's it?
He's doing edgelord
where he was doing edgelord, like pedophile jokes or whatever. The Michael Ian Black tweets were literally just about pizza.
Yeah.
Like he was just like, boy, I'd like some pizza right now.
We all know.
Hey,
Michael Ian Black does have like offenses. I don't give a shit about. Like I'm Michael Ian Black. How dare you? I love it when people do that to like win an argument with like, why are you arguing with Michael Ian Black in the first place? Who gives a shit?
The concept of this book is that Michael Ian Black is the liberal.
Well, let me read it. Okay. I'll read the jacket copy. This is from 2012. She is a single 20-something gun-loving Christian Republican writer and blogger.
Gun-loving, yeah, sure.
The daughter of a senator and 2008 Republican presidential nominee. He is a married 40-year-old gun-fearing atheist Democrat comedian, the son of a lesbian former Social Security employee. Meghan McCain and Michael Ian Black barely know each other, but they are about to change the way politics are discussed in America. Or at least the way politics are discussed.
Yeah, they did. Trump won.
At least the way politics are discussed in their crappy RV. In America, You Sexy Bitch, Meghan and Michael embark on a balls-out cross-country tour, starting in California, the heart of liberal America, and ending in the state of Connecticut, the home of blue-blood Wall Street billionaires. But mostly, Meghan McCain and Michael Ian Black talk to each other about their differences, their similarities, and how American politics has gotten so divided.
Trump won. That's it. This just changed America. It got liberals and conservatives talking to each other, and they decided to elect Trump.
So Matt, you've prepared some selections from America, You Sexy Bitch.
Really quick, though, this book was sent to us several months ago by a listener, and it's a signed copy, signed by both Michael Ian Black and Meghan McCain. Yeah. It is a treasured part of the Chapo library up on the shelf with our unhallowed tomes.
Yes.
And the governance of China by
this
President.
This is our Saddam Quran written in blood.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the equivalent to that.
Yeah, it's a holy testament here. So the format of the book is that the chapters are different places that they go, and it alternates. It'll be like a page and a half for Michael and then for Meghan, and they mostly actually talk past each other. It's kind of funny. There was very little actual dialogue. They mostly just get mad at one another and then sort of stew and then kind of get over it and then get mad at each other again.
By the way, Chapo tour coming up.
There's no fucking like the kind of thing they're promising here that we can rise above partisanship and ideology. Well, I mean, this never happens because it can happen because it's a fantasy. But anyway, so it starts off with them in LA. They're getting ready. They're getting an RV and they're getting on there. And the first thing they kind of do is they kind of tell you where they're coming from. And so the first thing Meghan says to sort of pitch things to this audience to let them know where she's coming from is, as much as I consider myself a Republican and feel in almost every way intellectually and culturally tied to both the Republican Party as an organization and its many shadings of conservative theory, on paper I am in many ways culturally liberal. I was born into a wealthy, famous family. I went to an Ivy League school and majored in art history, which means I know a lot about pretentious artists and art critics.
Name one.
I'm a writer and television commentator employed by the liberal network MSNBC. I'm a huge supporter of and fighter for gay marriage and LGBT rights. I'm unmarried and not completely convinced that the idea of marriage isn't outdated. I am almost 28 and do not have children, and I think absence only education is delusional and dangerous. I live in the heart of the West Village in New York City. I consider myself a God-fearing Christian, but I'm also a big believer in karma and sometimes get a feeling like I may have had past lives. All of this said, Jesus and I came to an understanding of each other a long time ago, and my relationship to him is one of acceptance. My God isn't Rick Santorum's God, and my God loves everyone for exactly who they are. My God does not make mistakes. This list can go on, which is why I have always hated labels and stereotypes about people, especially when it comes to Americans and what exactly it means to be a real American or come from real America. Because if I were to adhere to all the stereotypical terms that make someone a real American, I might find that, in many ways, I'm falling desperately short. What she is a stereotypical rich idiot.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like she thinks that she's like blowing your mind with all of these conflicts. It's like, I'm a Republican, but I like gay people. It's like, I like gay people, but I'm rich and want to keep my money. Like, is your mind blown by
I'm a
that?
conservative, but I appear on a network television owned by giant corporations.
Yeah.
I'm rich and I'm a cosmopolitan.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
I was interested to know that. I was interested to learn that Meghan is a believer in past lives.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
well, I mean, that just really goes to show you. It's like she's thought about none of this for more than a half second. Like, of course, she's a Christian because it's sort of the received kit you get. But of course, also kind of anything she heard sounds good.
Yeah, my
well, what if she believes that because her dad killed her with a bomb in her previous life?
you never got a chance to drop him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's got
his piece of his fuselage hit her. He's like, "Whoops, damn, see you again."
My God's the good God, not the God who wrote all those things that are bad.
I really wonder. She said, like, me and Jesus talked it over, and like, I'm cool with him. It's like, Meghan, is he cool with you?
Protestantism is such fucking voodoo.
I'm just thinking.
I talked it over
buddy.
with Jesus.
Put a pin in that.
I hate it.
I'm put
I
a pin
hate
in
it.
that, buddy.
This turns me into a Deus Volt guy, but for a Counter Reformation. Like this is just the pits.
No. American Protestantism is really like, hey, whatever you're doing, it's working.
Yeah,
keep on.
If you're white, like you rock.
Yeah.
Whatever, buddy.
So they travel around. They go to Prescott, Arizona, and they hang out with her brother and shoot guns.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Wait. Now, Michael Ian Black's a liberal.
Yeah.
And he shooting guns?
He fired a gun.
No.
I know.
No.
And he talks about how weird it is and also kind of cool. It's like
that's redefining the terms of this whole debate.
I know.
Now I'm seeing both sides of this.
Next paragraph from Michael Ian Black. After I saw a cop, I thought about grabbing a service weapon.
Well, no, I mean, like, I feel like this is what in the Trump era is being prescribed, that we need to like hang out with people who are not like us and learn things.
So then they shoot guns with their relatives, and oh my God, he feels weird. He kind of liked it, but also guns are bad. And she's like, yeah, guns are good. Once again, nothing has been learned. No point. Then they go to Vegas. Meghan talks about how much she loves Vegas. It's where she goes. It's her party town, which of course she loves Vegas. But this is one of the most insane things, and I honestly wonder how this got in the book. So they go to the Zappos headquarters. You guys remember Zappos? The shoe mailing website, which apparently is in Vegas. And this is the entirety of one of Meghan's sections on it. One of the main things I wanted to do with Michael when we're in Vegas is tour the Zappos headquarters. I'm a frequent user of the Zappos website to buy shoes and sometimes clothes. Although that is what I use Zappos to shop for, you can find a huge variety of things to purchase on the site that extend past shoes and jeans. Everything the Zappos company touts itself to be is true. My shipments come when they're supposed to. It is easy to print out a return slip from their website, and the customer service is amazing. Probably the best I've ever encountered.
What the fuck?
Everything is simple and easy, and the people that I talked to about an order seemed happy to help me. As weird as it sounds, it is really refreshing to do business with a company that seems to truly believe in customer service. For the record, I have no affiliation with Zappos other than as a customer. On top of that, Zappos CEO Tony C. has established a substantial cult following as a result of the wild success of Zappos and its somewhat unorthodox business environment. Or, depending on your perspective, the working environment all other working environments should follow and replicate. His latest venture is to rejuvenate downtown Las Vegas, where they are preparing to move their headquarters to the City Hall building, which was slated to become a homeless shelter until Say stepped in.
Phew. Oh, yeah. Well, thank God that didn't happen.
He is attempting
no, you don't, buddy.
He is attempting to reinvigorate Vegas in ways the city hasn't seen since Bugsy Siegel. Investing his own money.
No, did they say Bugsy? Did they literally say that?
Yeah. investing his own money and the time and talent of his entire team in coming up with new ideas to pump fresh blood into the area. Some say he is trying to create a new Silicon Valley right in the center of town. I say more power to him.
That was just like cut and pasted from a Zappos press release. That's incredible.
But it rocks because it's like, he displaced a homeless shelter. He's the best thing since this murderous gangster from the 40s who got shot in the eye.
Yep.
Wow. You're the Albert Anastasia of online commerce. Thank you.
Murder.com, not murdering.
The Dennis Leary joke.
www.murder.com. So they go to Salt Lake City from there.
And then pretend to be Mormon.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you have to pretend to be Mormon to get into the temple, but they didn't even get to do that because the fucking it's closed when they get there. I think they saw them coming.
Glad they included that bit in the book.
The only holy people in America, the Mormons, saw this unholy alliance and had to protect their sanctuary.
Yeah,
but Mormons, I stand with you.
But going to Salt Lake City makes Meghan reflect on religion.
Okay.
Oh, great! I can't wait.
I'd like to hear her thoughts on this.
So get this.
I think it's the opiate of the masses, but that's just me personally.
So she's looking at all the happy, smiling Mormons and all the white, smiling Mormons in Salt Lake City, and she says, "As I look around this rental place and see so many happy, shiny faces, I start to wonder if maybe this is the religion I'm missing. Maybe this is my church. I have had such a tumultuous relationship with organized religion that I refer to myself as a liberal Christian, a term I stole from the wonderful Christian Chenoweth. In general, however, I am conflicted about many religious concepts. Much like my politics, there is a lot of room for gray. I enjoy going to church and have found much comfort in it. I pray every day, but I believe that all of us are praying to the same divine force. The God that created us looks over us and protects us. I don't believe that there is a right God and a wrong God, that one religion's image of God is better than another. Then why are you a Christian? Why are you anything?
I think everyone is praying to the same God. There's no right or wrong God. It's all the same sort of divine force that we as human beings, connect with and commune with on some level, except, of course, for the false moon god that the Muslims worship.
And must be exterminated.
If the choice is between this hokum and somebody who says, no, my God is the right God and everyone who believes in another God should be killed, I take the latter every time.
Literally anyone goes up and get like, I'm going with ISIS, I'm going with one of those weird Catholics.
The magazine her husband runs and publishes.
Yeah, no, I'm going with one of those weird Catholics who goes beast mode on their own body with a whip. I'm doing anything but this bullshit. I'm Zoroastrian, whatever.
Even somebody who's Baha'i has to read this and think, you're dumb as shit, lady.
Yeah, even Unitarians are like, pick a side.
Well, hold on a minute. There's one religious concept that Meghan actually hates and is uncomfortable with and says no to. Michael is an atheist. I don't understand atheism, and this core difference between us strikes me as one of the most profound. I don't understand not having some kind of faith in something or believing in some form of God. The absence of a higher power of some kind, or that there being some kind of divine plan, just doesn't make sense. Really? Nothing comes after this?
Well, yeah.
This is some serious shit here.
Pretty
this is
easy to believe.
This is C.S. Lewis right here.
Yeah.
This is some real apologetics. Really? Nothing comes after this? And there is nothing before this? I simply refuse to believe it. And I find atheists arrogant. Arrogant and simple-minded. It's one of the few deal breakers when it comes to men I will date. No atheists. No atheists and no vegans. I'm still a red state girl at heart, and I like my man to eat red meat and love God.
Shut the fuck up.
Faith is such a huge part of my life that it is hard for me to conceive of what it's like for someone to get out of bed every morning and not have faith in their life.
Faith is literally no part of your life because your God is okay with anything you do ever.
Yes.
It's literally couldn't be less of a part of your life. Shut the fuck up.
I just want to say her idea that atheists don't believe in anything. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Meghan, I'd like to introduce you to something called the objectively true science of Marxist-Leninism.
Seriously, get on that shit.
Does Michael Ian
It's called The State, okay? Michael Ian Black should know about that. No way.
Does Michael Ian Black say anything in this book, or are all his lines just,
No,
yeah, Meghan.
He's in here, but he's even more boring than her. It's just all liberal bullshit. He loves Obama. He doesn't like guns.
Hates God.
He doesn't believe in God. All this shit. It's all, you could guess what he's going to say. But this goes back to something that Felix said about Protestantism. So they go from
paganism.
They go from Utah to Austin, Texas, and then they go to New Orleans. Over the years, I've had extremely special and even life-changing experiences in New Orleans. The first time I got my heart badly broken, I had to be in New Orleans a few weeks later. While I was there still reeling, I skeptically visited a voodoo doctor who had been recommended to be my airport cab driver. I don't really believe in psychics or fortune-telling, but I thought a voodoo doctor might be an interesting experience. I really don't think anything was going to happen, so why not give voodoo a try? At the very least, it would be a distraction from my broken heart. To my great shock, the doctor gave me such insight into my life and my recently ended relationship that I truly can say I got closure, and my heart started to heal in New Orleans. Everything the voodoo doctor told me would later come true, and I found the experience unbelievably cathartic. Believe what you want, say what you will. The voodoo doctor gave me closure, and I will always be thankful for her for that.
That's the thing is, like, when you talk to somebody really stupid, you can solve all their problems and predict their future. That is the only magic. Is that if you meet someone who's just a complete fucking like dullard, and you're like, oh yeah, your relationship ended because you wanted to go to the farmer's market and he wanted to like watch Truck versus Bear on Spike TV. And anyway, you're going to marry a guy who writes articles about how female dog owners should be hung. And well, I was like, oh my God,
Felix,
it all came true.
You bring that up, that passage there about her visiting the voodoo doctor and finding some, sense of closure or meaning in it. Probably half of the people employed by her husband would absolutely execute the voodoo doctor and then shave Meghan's head for doing devilry.
That fucking
devilish
guy, Matthew
idolatry.
Dowd talks about how it's like, don't it's not worth it.
Matthew Walsh, yeah. Do not do the Ouija board.
Yoga, Ouija boards, it's not worth it. It's like,
that's devil shit.
That's insane, but you believe in something.
Not only that, but like you believe in something. I mean, you believe in stupid things, but at least it's like stopping you from doing, like it asks something of you, like you actually can't do yoga or do whatever or do and think whatever you want to do at every given moment.
Yes,
you can't be Christian and do voodoo. You have to pick one. I'm not saying voodoo is bad. I'm saying you have to pick one.
You have to pick one.
The monotheism of the Bible is practical monotheism. It doesn't mean there's only one God. The Yahweh fought the Pharaoh's God. He was stronger. It means you have to pick one, you fucking idiot. Holy shit. I fucking can't stand Protestants.
No, it's the worst.
American Protestants.
And if and it's the money that does it.
Pigs.
It's just this fucking. It just turns.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. It's like, hey, what's the thing that I can believe so that I never feel bad for a moment of my life? I never have asked of anything. I never feel disquiet about my place in the universe. I never fear existentially for my death.
That's why she believes in capitalism so much and why she hates socialism.
At least those like dour Norwegian Protestants like kill each other over shit. Like they're cool. They believe in something at least. This is just, she's not even trying.
Well, eventually there was going to be an argument between these two with their different views. So they went on a swamp tour to look at gators and such. And
hey, that sounds fun.
Oh,
if they go on a fan boat?
Well, I'm imagining like the movie The Butterfly Effect, how the future plays out if Meghan gets sucked into the fan on the fan boat. Tragic mishap during the writing of America, You Sexy Bitch.
I have to say, it's a lot of fun. I've been out there.
You were on the fan boat.
Not on the fan boat. It was just like a regular boat.
Nah, give me fan
I'm
boat.
just picturing
Fan boat or nothing.
Matt in a swamp playing the accordion.
Oh, isn't
just
that
having the time of his life?
a cool idea? Your propulsion by a giant fan. It's very Acme, you know.
No, it's cool, but I didn't do that. I just like threw the marshmallows and saw the gators. It was nice.
Wait, you threw the marshmallows?
You throw marshmallows at them and they come up and you look at them. So they did
love
that.
marshmallows. It's
and while we're
adorable.
doing this, they're talking about healthcare.
Oh, okay.
Which, according to Meghan, is the two issues where he is the most conservative and she is the most conservative and he's the most liberal. Even though I'm pretty sure there's a brick wall in my future, we start discussing Obamacare on the bus on the way to the swamp tour. Michael's argument starts with Republicans being heartless and that we all need to give a little more for the common good and that healthcare should be free to every American. I naturally feel like Uncle Scrooge when I say that universal health care would bankrupt this country if enacted into law. Of course, I think all Americans should have access to health care. However, the concept of free health care is unrealistic. I wish I could be so idealistic as to think that if we all just gave a little more, then everyone would have the same level of amazing health care. But it's just not that simple. It makes me feel like I come off sounding heartless, when in reality, I think I'm simply being pragmatic about the kind of world we live in and what our country can afford.
You sound pragmatic as fuck. Anyway, let me guide you through this gator-infested swamp.
Yeah,
You're
no.
worse than Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge was at least a competent businessman. You're just someone who's so rich. she had a fucking like $50,000-$80,000 credit line.
Yeah.
For her parents, she probably still has it.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, the nut of her actual objection to healthcare. We can't afford it. It's too expensive. I mean, we know that's not true. I mean, everyone listening to this knows all
there
the
was
fucking
money to pay for this book deal.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, we also know. I mean, the fucking a Koch brothers funded think tank just came out with a fucking study saying over a 10-year period, universal healthcare would save like $2 trillion over the baseline of what we're going to end up spending on healthcare just as it exists.
By the way, all her shit about like we just can't afford it in America, like all this water-headed shit goes back right to what she said on The View about socialism, where like Joy Behar was like, wow, I don't know, like, Norway, Finland, they have free healthcare. It's working pretty good for them.
You hear Joy Behar all the time. I love it.
And Meghan's response to that was, she was like, I'm sorry, it is literally delusional to compare a tiny European country to America and think that we could do that here. All of her arguments for like America is just too big for socialism, it cuts the exact opposite way.
Well, of course.
There's more fucking money in this country. Like it's easier to do socialism on a large scale because there's more money and we have our own currency. And as I've said before, the biggest obstacle that we wouldn't have to deal with is this country's foreign policy.
Fucking us up.
Yeah.
Well, so she says instead of doing that, we should do tort reform. That would make things affordable.
God. Okay.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And then she says, the idea of universal healthcare seems very much like a first step towards radically socializing medicine in a country that is too large and complicated to support such a drastic move.
No.
Shut the fuck.
Yes, I will concede that insurance and pharmaceutical companies are making money hand over fist, but I do not think we can penalize big business for doing what our democratic capitalist system is designed to do. Also, take into consideration that much of that money goes back into research and improving the outstanding level of care
That's
that we
the Meghan
already...
McCain
Yeah, your
line.
dad's still alive. I hate it.
No, but this is good. Improving the outstanding level of care that we already have. The we in that sentence is what matters.
Yeah.
We meaning her.
Yeah, you know
That
how
she gets access to.
You know how my dad can float on the ceiling like Baron Harkonnen, and he's been dying for 7 years? Yeah, no, I know that you have to pay like $3,000 a month, and even when you get care, it doesn't cover it, and it's the biggest single cost. It's not deductible from your taxes even. But look, my dad has a 7-year-long dying period. We all have to mourn my dad. Like, we're just keeping him alive somehow. We're just pumping oxygen into his rotting green blood all the time. He'll never go away. You're welcome.
Well, she asks, why should an award-winning hospital like the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, have to risk becoming less of a leader in finding new solutions to medical problems by making it cater to anyone who walks in the door?
Yeah, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want just anyone who's dying.
By the way,
like,
haven't doctors in Cuba
fucking
literally just
scumbag.
cured AIDS in infants?
yeah, you fucking scumbag.
I think it's pretty telling.
Just that phrase, anyone who walks in
Yeah,
this door.
just-
She walked into the fucking door of life.
Yeah.
You
You
never
walked right
you
through
just
that
showed
door.
up. You just fucking showed up, and now I have to see you for the rest of my life. You did nothing. You did nothing. You went on a fucking road trip. And that's your qualification.
Okay,
Oh
you
my
say this.
God.
You better not ever see her and say that to her because, buddy, you're in trouble. She says to Michael, at the end of the day, there's nothing in this world that comes free. And Michael replies, it's not like you could ever understand not having health care. This is not the way to argue with me. I've spent a significantly large part of my life trying to combat any bullshit poor little rich girl couldn't possibly understand real life stereotypes, and I'm in no mood to do so with Michael on a damp bus on its way to the swamp.
And that's tea, sis.
Sis, don't say anything like that when you meet my father. I'm still trying to explain to him exactly who you are, I say, even though I know
Oh,
it's
if I
an
meet your
argument
father,
ender.
there will be
Wait,
no words.
Her father married her mother, who is a rich beer heiress.
Yes.
He didn't do anything for his money either.
That's how he got his
Yeah.
political career funded. He left his first wife for the money.
Yeah.
having
after his
younger
first
woman.
wife got sick, by the way.
Yes.
What a compassionate guy John
Yeah.
is. What a great family. Don't give me that. What the fuck? What is she going to talk about when she was in college? Is that it? Is she going to talk about when she lived in a shitty apartment once in her life? What's the large chunk of your life? You
fucking platinum credit card.
Nothing.
Well, what I like
She
about
does not
She doesn't
elaborate.
expand on it?
There's
So-
nothing.
So what she says
She's
there-
just saying
so what
that
she
you're
said-
supposed to take for granted that she's worked hard to
So what she's saying
combat
there,
stereotypes
what she's
about a
saying there is
talentless rich
is like when
child.
people try to argue with me by saying, yeah, Meghan, maybe you don't understand what it's like to not have health care, or maybe like the things you take for granted aren't widely shared. The prosperity that you take for granted is not as widely shared as you'd imagine, and you don't know that because you're a clueless rich person who hasn't earned or done anything in their life.
Right.
She says, I spent my whole life getting angry at that, and I've worked very hard to combat it.
Yeah.
And then okay, and then it just
excuse me, she's a blogger, sir.
It's what she said. What she's saying there is that argument really makes me mad, and I wish people wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Next, moving on,
because she's blogged. Okay, she blogged.
Yeah, she went on MSNBC in 2008 and said, "Gay people kind of not bad."
Yeah.
Awesome.
So she's saying that line about how, like, which would lead someone to say, imagine if the Mayo Clinic just had to serve anybody.
Yeah. That just,
you know, and she says like that really annoys me, and you shouldn't use that argument. So it's just like saying, you know the argument that's like the most effective moral case for why I'm a nitwit who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Don't use that argument around me. It makes me mad.
This is the boss fight. This is when the weak point of the boss starts glowing red. Except every part of her is the weak point. Just anyone can walk. You want that world?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You want a world where just anybody gets top of the line cancer treatment?
I see why people spend so much time like trying to rehabilitate Stalin online. Honestly, man.
Yeah, no. There's
Honestly,
the lure of the gulag is very, very strong.
Oh my God. You just want it. You hate to see it. You want to see this person in prison.
Yeah.
You hate to read it.
You know, you guys are getting very class worry right now. You're getting very hostile towards the job creators and producers in the world.
Yeah.
But have you considered Elvis?
No, I have not. Well, he was born poor and he became very wealthy.
So they go to Memphis and they go to Graceland and they tour Graceland and they explain, what it's like.
All of real America.
Yeah, exactly. So they're looking at all of his amazing stuff at Graceland, all of his opulence,
his 80 Cadillacs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly what it is about Elvis, other than that he was the first of his kind and changed music and American culture forever.
Whites?
But there's something about him that appeals to every generation. Yes, of whites. I think the latter part of his life, when he went through hardships with prescription drugs and weight gain, is obviously sad, but it doesn't make him any less of a legend or an icon. It just makes the lengths that support people go to enable celebrities egregiously tragic. And why do they do it? I guess to be more around famous people and steal some of their wealth. As I stand in the middle of the gold leaf heaven, I find it ironic that the people on tour are here in their T-shirts and flip-flops, as much to worship the excesses of a very wealthy man as they are at his talents. Given a choice, they'd probably take the money over the music. This hypocrisy hits hard the day after my dinner conversation defense last night. The anti-wealth trend is on the uptick, evident everywhere you turn.
Wow.
Look at Occupy Wall Street. Look at the way Mitt Romney has been treated during this election cycle, with his wealth perceived by many on the left as a liability. Being wealthy or coming from substantial means is not lauded in America today as it was in Elvis's day. This is obviously a wealth disconnect in this country, and yet, that's what we call it, a wealth disconnect. And yes, Wall Street has screwed a lot of people in middle America, but what concerns me is the new edict that you should be embarrassed by personal wealth and success. This is what continues to worry me about the Obama administration. The spread the wealth around feeling will always be one of the biggest alerts around what kind of political ideology our president adheres to. We should encourage hard work and success and not publicly scorn people once they get there. Even some of those who grew up without wealth can too easily forget where they came from. I do not flaunt my family's wealth because, only a spoiled asshole would do that. But I also don't feel like feeling like it's something I need to hide or be embarrassed about.
God forbid you ever feel uncomfortable or embarrassed or
ever
anything,
any sort of debt or connection to another human being
this
that,
goes back to her,
requires you to have anything.
This goes back to her personal relationship with Jesus, where Jesus was like, you know what, Meghan, you rock. You shouldn't be embarrassed by all your wealth.
God appeared in a burning bush to her and said, keep doing what you're doing.
By the way, here's an explanation to Meghan of the American healthcare system she might understand. The health insurance companies are to Americans as the Colonel was to Elvis. you know that guy who is a wealth creator who managed Elvis by stealing all of his money and letting him kill himself with drugs.
Tom Parker.
Yeah. That is what health insurance is in America.
Here's another analogy.
Also, I'm sorry, Elvis actually did have talent. He was a great performer.
Yeah, and he was poor.
Yeah.
Here's another analogy she might get for health insurance. Imagine there's a pilot and he just can't seem to get through a flight. You just can't even seem to land the plane. Sometimes you can't even take it off, but they keep giving him planes. For some reason, they just keep giving him chances.
So I don't think Meghan has to feel bad about her wealth. There's a lot of other things she should feel bad about. Her beliefs, her level of intelligence, personality, her lack of accomplishments.
I do agree that the tax code is out of control, but I also believe in in a free market system where checks and balances come into play. I apparently was one of the few people not offended by Mitt Romney's comments that he enjoyed firing people who didn't do a good job working for him. I do not understand why that was perceived as such a shocking thing to say. America is a capitalistic society. If you do a bad job, you should not be able to keep it. Alternatively, if you do a good job, you should be promoted. None of this seems particularly controversial to me, but to a lot of people it is.
Meghan goes on Rap Genius after a Capital Steps show to figure out all the references that go over her head.
I love the thing about fire. Like, when has Meghan ever been anyone's like boss at a profitable enterprise? Is she just talking about when she like complains to people's managers?
Yes,
like,
yes.
I love that.
Getting waiters fired, getting landscapers fired, getting pool boys fired.
Oh man, this trip they went on, it was probably like fucking General Sherman's March to the Sea, but for service employees. Just everyone they came across, she was like, "Let me talk to someone who's above you." Just salting the earth. Yep. She single-handedly like raised the unemployment rate by like 2 digits.
Yeah, that's why there was no Obama recovery. She got everyone fired.
Everyone fired.
I do like this. If you do a good job, you should be promoted. Or if you just show up and you're Meghan McCain, you should be promoted.
And you go from MSNBC to The View because they want one young conservative who like doesn't want to hang gay people.
Yeah.
So that they can keep humping this idea that there is young, cool, nice people out there who also believe in everything the Republican
Party
does.
But she's not even she's a nasty piece of, it's like she's like John McCain.
No,
it's like, but she's dumber than McCain because McCain could do like he could play the game where it's like, oh well, sometimes I eat too many donuts on the campaign trail, but he's in reality just a nasty piece of shit.
Oh, he's awful.
And his mask would slip sometimes. But it just
she
half-asses putting on her mask.
He called her mom the C word in public.
He did, in front of reporters. So she talks about global warming at one point, and apparently that's a problem. Both parties have a problem with that because Republicans refuse it exists, and Democrats use celebrities to talk about it. So they're both equally at fault.
I agree. I agree.
And then she goes to Branson, Missouri.
I wish she visited Branson from E1, and he had a certain device with him that makes a whirr noise. His favorite device.
And this is actually my favorite quote in the whole book, is that she goes to Branson, and she and Michael see Yakov Smirnoff's special.
Hell yes.
They go and see Yakov Smirnoff do his thing. And I actually think he's closed his theater since then. So this was like towards the end of his run there.
She got him fired from his own theater.
she did scathingly review the show.
She called ICE and tried to deport him.
This is unacceptable. I paid $33 for this.
So she sees Yakov Smirnoff, and it's a terrible show.
Please explain to me how a television could watch me.
It's a terrible show. It's a show he's been doing basically verbatim for 20 years at this point. And it's a lot of sentimentality and cheap patriotism, and it gives Meghan the closest thing to like an existential moment or identity crisis in the whole book. The rest of it is just her keeping on. So she sees Yakov and she says, "There's nothing per se wrong with Yakov's comedy. It just feels like somebody retelling his stories about a better time in his career. Yakov, for whatever reason, has not exactly evolved with the times. And every time
she's in fucking Branson. It's like a time capsule there.
And it's also like, I'm mad at her for critiquing Yakov. At least he made something.
Yeah, no,
you've never done anything.
He came to this country from the Soviet Union, and he fucking had like 3 jokes and
became a comedy sensation.
What would she have done in that situation?
Well, in Soviet,
she would have just died.
She would have died of exposure.
Yeah. In Soviet Union, Meghan McCain doesn't exist.
So she's like, "Wow, this is really cheesy. It's very, very bad." She says, "I hate the term has-been because I think it often cruel and unfair generalization, but that is how the majority of people would probably describe Yakov and his show at this moment. I spent a lot of time giving speeches, mostly at college campuses. Giving speeches and entertaining an audience is one of the best and most flattering things I am asked to do. But at the same time, it is also indescribably difficult and draining. Engaging a room full of college students about the future of the Republican Party and trying to make it funny and edgy at the same time is truly one of the hardest things I have tried to master.
So I just give up.
Tried, meaning that although I think I am good, I can't believe she thinks she's good, I don't think I'm done evolving as a speaker. Either way, it is something I take extremely seriously and consider one of the greatest honors of my life. Like Yakov, I stand in front of a room full of people telling my story. Her story of my dad was a senator.
I love that. One of the greatest honors of my life. I love this. This is just such like American bullshit language. Like the thing when something good happens to you and you're like, I'm so humbled. Like you don't know what any of this means. No, your honor was when you were just born into millions of ill-gotten gains and gifted them before you even lifted a finger, and then never did anything for the rest of your life, and just gifted into us seeing your fucking shitty face forever. That was your honor. That was the greatest honor you ever received.
So this is the last part. So she says that to kind of make the connection between her and Yakov. We both talk to people for a living.
He's better at it. He at least did it on his own merits.
We share our story, his story of fleeing one country for another and building, a new life and a comedy career. Her story of shooting out of a wealthy womb and just being gifted an entire life of privilege and media access.
God, I hate her.
Those comparably compelling stories. So then she says, as I leave the theater in a daze, strolling back to the lobby with my happy chatting clan up ahead of me, all my pre-show exuberance is gone. My admiration for the patriotic paintings vanished. When we get outside, Michael and Stephanie can tell something is up. They can both read me pretty well. It is not exactly that I didn't like the show, which I didn't really. I had been to not good or great shows and speeches before. I think there was something about the desperation and dated feeling of Yakov's show that made me get down. It was sad. I wanted to know what happened to his career. I wanted to know how one had such a large following and then ends up desperately hawking swag to small audiences in Branson, Missouri. Yakov once appeared on Johnny Carson and made him laugh, and now he's stuck wringing laughs and money out of people's nostalgia and patriotism. He's flogging the same story of his American dream that he has made his name on. What if that's me? What if I am Yakov Smirnov?
Don't worry. You will never lose millions of Meghan McCain fans. Don't worry about it. Never worry about it, please.
Well, that's how delusional she is she thinks it's a comparable situation where she has to maintain an engaged audience and a perspective and insights to keep people interested, as opposed to just being dragged along by the tenterhooks of her family's money and her name.
Yeah, no, you're a fucking half-dead jellyfish floating along the beach. And she's like, wow, I don't know how long I can be the world's fastest swimmer. She's like Drake. She's like, man, when you're on top, everyone's coming for you. Like,
no, she is. She's like, damn, it's so, God,
lonely
had to grind
top.
for this view. How am I going to keep this up?
Yeah, she's just born. Damn, had to grind for this view.
And then she ends up going to Washington, D.C., and of course, meeting her dad and having a nice dinner with Senator McCain.
And Michael Ian Black?
Yes.
Okay.
And nothing is learned. No one changes their minds. No synthesis has been achieved. Just this absolute waste of everyone's time.
All right, so hear me out here. What if we ran a river through the part of Arizona she was born in to just completely wipe it off the map? Genghis Khan style. What do you think about that?
I think emptying the entire state of Arizona of human habitation would be a good
No, I like Arizona. I think it's like an interesting place.
No one should live there, though. Come on.
So what? No one should live here. It sucks here. I just think her birthplace should be wiped off the map, personally. It's hard to run a river through Arizona, but, to paraphrase Michael Ian Black and Meghan McCain, this is the greatest darn country on earth, and we can do whatever we want. I went in the car, and I saw all the things that make America difficult, but wait. We disagree on some things, but on others, we do love this country. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that nothing you do is ever wrong, and nothing you believe is ever at odds with anything you see, and you never have to change anything. I went to the restaurant with the old senator. He was just kidding $5 money to buy me chicken tenders. Just fucking pablum, idiots.
Even if it wouldn't pay for healthcare and education for every single human being in this country, just as a matter of principle, there shouldn't you should have we should cap out people's money at I'm going to be generous and say just $10 million.
I think we should just cap people after hearing this shit. I was in a bad mood today, but it's this just made it worse.
Really, Felix?
But this is what we can't have nice things for. This is what we have to live in misery for.
No, but this is the argument against socialism that she's making, is that we cannot possibly have universal health care because it would take away from all the other things that are good. It would very slightly inconvenience me or make me feel guilty or responsible for even a millisecond.
Yeah, it would make me part of something bigger than myself. It would make me accountable to others, and that's just not happening, folks.
Yeah,
that's canceled. That's T.
It's canceled to ever feel any level of discomfort or anything. You're fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. Everyone else is the problem.
Eternal sunshine of Meghan's mind.
Yep.